On today's episode of Apex to Muck, I'm gonna zero down on something that's often overlooked but absolutely crucial: the features of the 2025 KTM Adventure 390. I have always been a fan of KTM and the spirit of adventure, so naturally, when the 2025 Adventure 390 hit the market, I couldn't resist. A month in and 4,000 kilometers later, I have a lot to say. So buckle up, let's break it all down and see if the Adventure 390 truly lives up to the hype. Let me start with the good stuff because I have to credit where it's due. KTM has gone with a bonded TFT screen, which is a big win in terms of visibility. Many other manufacturers go for a layered display where a protective top screen sits over the TFT. Sounds fine, but under direct sunlight, this design often causes glare, ghosting, or blurry readings too. KTM, however, avoided this by directly bonding these layers. The result? Excellent visibility even in harsh light, no distortion, and sharp character contrast. Whether it's early morning sun or a twilight hour, the screen remains crystal clear. The fonts are bold, spacing is great, and the automatic backlight adaptation works flawlessly. So, in terms of raw display tech, KTM did their homework. Well, in this section, let's talk about the user interface, which I would call it smooth but shallow. Interface wise, the responsiveness is on the point. You toggle through the menu, and the system doesn't lag or freeze. Navigation is intuitive, and even first time KTM users will find it easy to access the ride modes, trip details, and other settings. But the smooth user interface hides what we could call the shallow integration. More on that in a bit. Here is where the problem begins. The system starts throwing up warning messages that often feel misplaced. The coolant temperature high warning, for example, pops up frequently even under normal conditions, and oddly, it is sometimes accompanied by a cruise control error too. The moment the coolant warning triggers, the bike disables the cruise functionality temporarily, even though there is no critical overheating. This might just be a sensor sync issue or a bad software mapping, but it severely undermines the rider confidence. And if you are thinking of turning off the bike and restarting would help, not always. The warning sometimes lingers even after the actual condition is normalized. Now let's talk about the traction control. In off-road mode, the traction control is supposed to be completely off. That's the point of off-road mode, right? But in reality, it's not. Try to pop a wheelie or take a jump and give it a throttle blip. Boom. The traction control error kicks in, the ECU cuts off the power. Now we are left wondering, is the traction control really off? Or is the system overriding the user input in the name of safety? This defeats the purpose of having a mode built for aggressive terrain where control should lie with the rider and not the system. This kind of inconsistency makes the riders second guess the machine, and that's the last thing you want to do during an adventure ride. Let's move to another highlight feature, the cruise control. KTM hyped this as a touring friendly feature. On paper, it really is, but in execution, it is inconsistent. You set the cruise at say 104 km per hour and watch the speed fluctuate anywhere from 98 to 108 km per hour. And that's a massive 10 km per hour swing. That's not just annoying, it's potentially dangerous if you're riding in a group or navigating tight traffic conditions. Compare that to a TVS RTR 310, a smaller, more affordable bike. Its cruise control holds much more stable speeds with minor tolerances. So what's happening here? Is it a sensor calibration problem? Poor throttle by wire feedback? Whatever the cause is, it's clear that the cruise system on Adventure 390 needs refinement. This makes me wonder, did the KTM rush this out to the market? There are signs pointing in that direction too. Instrument clusters, especially on an ATV bike, should undergo rigorous testing across the real world conditions. extreme heat, vibration, off road shocks, electrical loads, and much more. These glitches feel like the end result of insufficient validation. Perhaps the intention was good, but the integration wasn't thought through completely. And that's a shame, because this bike has so much potential, but it's being held back by what should be a sorted system by now. In closing, the 2025 KTM Adventure 390 brings solid tech and thoughtful features on the paper, but the execution is half baked in key areas. From inconsistent cruise control to unreliable traction control behavior and the false error prompts, this instrument cluster needs updates, patches, and possibly a better firmware rollout. If you already own this bike, you probably know what I mean. If you're planning to buy one, be aware. This isn't about bashing KTM, it's about raising valid concerns so that riders like you can make informed choices. And at the end, all I would say is ride safe, stay alert, and keep those throttles open. If raw rides, brutal truths, and unfiltered reviews are your vibes, welcome home. Smash that subscribe button. Apex to Muck is where the real riders roll.